about the story of Hanukkah? Give me one thing. Yes?
There were people who came to his grave, and they didn't like
Who didn't like it?
the Jews.
Didn't like Antiochus, or Antiochus didn't like us? Both. Okay, good answer. Yes, sir.
There was a big battle.
There was a battle. I'm not sure how big, but there was a battle. You're right. Yes.
They found a little bit and put oil in. They followed after him when they go after for aid.
That's right. That's right. What did they need that oil for anyway? What were they lighting?
They waited it for Hanukkah.
Before that. All right, wait, we're going to come. What's your name?
Jack.
Jack, we're coming back to you because that's an important part of the story. Yes.
Then we have one drop of oil that lasted for 8 days. Now that's why we have 8 candles now, and actually 9 instead of 7.
Okay, why did we have 7? What's that all about? Jack kind of alluded to that. What's that all about? 7.
I don't know.
Oh, good. I'm glad you don't know. Yes.
They use the oil to make fire on the candles first, but then by the time they woke up, they would be left out.
You think they had candles? No, I think you're right. So forget about candles for the moment, okay? Because we're not using candles today. Yeah, I'm going to take you to. Go ahead first, sir.
They actually used olive oil, which is very flammable, and I think a piece of twine as well.
Okay, like a wick.
Yeah, a wick.
A wick, okay.
A wick, yeah.
Good,
Olive
yes.
oil.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say it anyway. Go ahead, say it.
They just put the oil in jars and then put like in it and like they set the wick on fire. The olive oil helps with fire.
Okay, so let's imagine that we had individual bottles of holy oil. Does anybody know what a Kohen Gadol? Who the Kohen Gadol? Yes.
The high priest.
The high priest, that's right. And we had the high priest from a long, long, long time ago, from the time that we had Moses. And who was the first high priest? You're the ringer in the crowd. What's your name?
David.
David, okay. go.
Moses' brother, Aaron.
Exactly. So he wasn't the high priest when we got to Jerusalem, unfortunately. But they carried down the ideas of what they did. Does anybody know what this is? It looks a little different. I'm going to give you the first shot now. Not quite. Let's take a closer look. A menorah. So let's count how many we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Huh. Why do I even have this little 7-branched
Oh,
candelabra?
that's my email.
Where does this come from? No takers? All right, let's take a look at this picture for a minute. Yes. Go ahead. Excellent. That's my thought because of the 7 days of the week. But let's take a look at this picture. What does this look like to you? A little bit, right? So this is called the Menorah plant, and it is found in the desert in Israel. And when they were deciding about creating special things for the tabernacle, what they were now going to gather as the people of Israel, we had 12 tribes, Moses was in charge, Aaron was the high priest, and we were going to begin to form sort of a community. And we were stationed around what was known as the tent of meeting, or the tabernacle. So when God spoke to Bezalel, or influenced him. I don't know that he spoke to him, influenced him. He said, take the Moriah plant, and this is how you will fashion the Menorah for the tabernacle. So this plant still grows in Israel. This picture is taken from a place called Neot-Dumim, which, believe it or not, is in the town of Modi'in. Why does that sound familiar, Modi'in? Yes. Because what? Starts with a mem, you're right. Moses, Moshe, Modi'in. What would be the other? What's the other? Someone hasn't said something yet. Yes. That's kind of where the Maccabees started from. That's right, in Modi'in. Today, it's an amazing city in Jerusalem. And this is a biblical preserve there that is really, really wonderful. That has all of the flora and fauna that is mentioned in the Torah. If you can believe it, grows here at this place. So this is where I took that picture of the Moriah plant, so that we would now be ready to understand the Menorah. Yes?
My mom has a friend that lives in Israel.
You're lucky. She's very lucky. I wonder if she'll be able to go visit her soon. Or you can go. Yes?
I have a friend that lives in Israel.
You have a Savta?
Yeah.
I'm a Savta too, but I don't live in Israel. That's excellent. I'm so excited to have a Savta in Israel. So here we have our beautiful Moriah plant, and we are establishing ourselves in the desert, and we begin to light this day after day. Finally, we make our way, we build a beautiful holy temple, the Beit HaMikdash in Jerusalem, and our story begins to unfold. I think I'm going to move on to the book. If we get it up on the screen, that would be great. But I want to give you a little idea of this ancient city of Jerusalem where the story actually took place. Let me think. I love the rocks and everything out here. Maybe this is what Modi'in, it does kind of look like that, to be honest with you. There are definitely rocks, and it was very hilly to get from Modi'in to Jerusalem. What if we stopped our program right now, and all of you got your coats on, and we walked to the plaza? How would that be? Can we do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I have some people who would come with me and walk there now?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah?
Yes.
No, uh-oh. Why wouldn't you want to walk there, honey? Oh, that's a pretty, what if it was a beautiful sunny day? Would you do it? Pretty much, okay. Well, I'm not, yes?
I wouldn't do it because it might be super hot.
It might be super hot. Well, guess what? It's super hot in Israel. And it's hilly, and it's rocky, and it's a little bit dangerous for walking. And to imagine that the Maccabees were willing to walk for that battle, somebody talked about a little bit of a battle, to go from Modi'in all the way to Jerusalem. It might be about as far as here to the plaza, maybe a little bit farther. So that's why I asked if you would be willing. All right, I think we are not going to get our movie. Yes, sir.
Where is the plaza?
Where the mall is? Mall? What do we call it? South Shore Plaza, isn't that what you call it? Braintree?
Yes.
Oh, you know, the Cheesecake Factory?
You hit on it.
All right. What I want you to understand is that Jerusalem is a walled city. What does that mean, a place that has walls? Yes?
It's a place that has a wall that's protected, and another example is China.
Yes, that's a great wall of China. This is not quite that wall, but what were you going to say? I'm sorry? Oh, okay. So we do have a walled city, and there are gates, entrances to get into that city. If you're standing and looking out, Jerusalem now is a very busy city. city. It has a lot of growth. It has a lot of building going on. And imagine thousands of years old, these walls are still standing. This is one of our entrances into the old city. It's called the Doublet Gate. And surely, during the time of the Beit HaMikdash and the Maccabees, we were using this gate also. What's also to take interest and note of is that when you have a city, a walled city anywhere in the world, and particularly in Europe, you will see this. To mark that it is Jewish, what do you think is there as you walk in? What? Your name? No, I can't hear you. The Star of David, good idea, a Star of David. What else might be walking through that gate? Yes. Jewish stars, the Star of David, good idea. Anybody who hasn't shared yet and have an idea? Okay, yes? Yeah.
Hieroglyphics of the Menorah.
Okay, we'll get there. Not really, because this gate, I mean, this is me, and I walked through that gate, and I'm reaching up to something.
Oh!
Okay? A mezuzah, that's right. How many of you know about the mezuzah when you walk into your synagogue here? Does anybody have a mezuzah on their doorpost up at their house? So if you've studied the Shema, and it says, it's, you want to shut the light off since we're not going to be successful. It might be too big to say. In the Shema, it says that I'm going to teach your children, and that you should also put on the doorpost.
Well, ask them, they should know that, we just went over it last week.
Oh,
What the Behalf says.
so who remembers like that little English part? Did you learn it in English also? Yeah, all right, so where's that little? And I will teach you and put it on the and upon thy on the gates. Ding, 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 ding. This is gates. This is what it means in the Shema that you are working on. It is that you put a mezuzah on the gate. When I was your age, I thought it meant a white picket fence outside my house. It wasn't until I was a grown-up and I did some adult learning that I learned that it was about the gate going into a walled city. Now, there are many gates around the city of Jerusalem, and not all of them have a mezuzah, because they are not all Jewish entrances. But the Jaffa Gate is definitely a Jewish entrance. So that is one way that I could have gotten in. Kind of took a walk around the top of the walls of the old city to get an idea what it might be like. Look how narrow that is. This is called the Ramparts Walk if you ever go to Jerusalem. And it really is just a very narrow sliver at the very, very top of the walled city. So you can see out into the new city, and then you look into everything that is in the old city. Okay, let's see. Here we're coming up to what is referred to as the Doublet Gate. And during the time of the 6-Day War, this had a lot of garbage in front of it, was the garbage gate, but it also was the closest entrance to the Beit HaMikdash and the wall, the Wailing Wall, the Kotel. Anybody ever heard of the Kotel? Anybody know what that is? So within, yes? No, not Kotel.
Say it in English.
What?
Say it in English, the western wall or the Wailing?
Oh, the Wailing Wall. So that was the westernmost part of the wall where the Holy Temple was. It's a very, very holy place for us to even today. All right, these three arches here is the southern gate, and And if you have a chance later on, I have a picture, old archaeological picture of this area. When I was 16 years old, I got to dig here. And it's called an archaeological dig. And we were working to uncover centuries and centuries and centuries. And so this was an entrance that you and I would have taken to go up to the Temple Mount. The Kohen Gadol, the Kohanim, they had their own entrance. The Levites, they had their own entrance. And then, is anybody here a Kohen? Okay, you get to go separate. The rest of us, we have to go up these stairs, and this is how we would have gotten to that area. And it's all still there today. I just took these pictures. If you were the Kohen, over here is a little bit of the Robinson's Arch. This was a big archway, and you would have gotten in from here if you were a Kohen. You would have had direct access to go in. Now, we are rounding the corner from the southern wall, and this is perhaps one of the most famous gates, but there's a problem if you look closely. What can you tell me about right here? What? The picture of this gate. What's the problem? They're blocked off, they're closed. It's a problem. This is called the Golden Gate. And the belief is that until the Messiah comes, until there is peace and goodwill in the world, and everybody cares about everybody else, this gate will stay sealed. But my friends, this is the gate that the Kohen would have left to go down to where the olive trees are to make the olive oil for the Menorah. So it was opened at one time, and now it has been sealed for many, 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 many years. But this exit was extremely important and was a way for us to get, now I'm going to show you those trees. Right outside of there and across, here is the valley. Here's an olive tree, and here is the valley where the olive trees are that would have been used for the Menorah. Yes?
So gates, since it's called the Golden Gate, does it have some, is the Golden Gate Bridge based after something that means like it's sealed?
I like your thinking. I think that's good to think about it. So here we are, and this is the basis and the reality of our story right here. So what I want you to take away from this is knowing that these gates, that this story and the place where it took place is very, very real. It's not just in our imagination. This is a stone relief of a menorah, and these are actually Hanukkah that are in a museum in Jerusalem. And the pomegranate. And everybody know what a pomegranate is? We usually like to have it out on our table on Rosh Hashanah. Have you had a pomegranate? Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Now they're pressed for drinks. Do you know how many seeds they say are in? You ever counted the seeds in a pomegranate? How many do you think? 613. Does that number ring a bell to anybody? The number of mitzvot. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I did the experiment too, and we had 611. Really, for real, we did.
Somebody ate too.
So here is a picture to give you a little bit of an idea of what that holy temple might have looked like. And the high priest would have entered here into the Holy of Holies, and that's where the menorah was. Another thing called the showbread, where there was going to be 12 loaves of bread given each day, and also the third thing in there was, the menorah, the showbread, and I'll think of it at some point, and I'll let you know. I'll get back to you on that, because it's totally skipped my mind what the third thing is. But we could all gather here together. So imagine that there was destruction in this area. Somehow the Syrian Greeks got into here. Somehow they toppled whatever. Maybe the high priest, I don't know how many days worth of oil they may have had laid out. My guess is it took about a week to 10 days. God bless you. God bless you. A week to 10 days to gather enough oil for them to have it to burn. Yes, Jack?
I have a bookmark and it has Moses on it.
Nice, nice. He's a very important person. You know, he gets 4 books of the Torah, Moses. There's only 5 books, and he gets 4. So I think he's pretty important. Yes? You don't want to share it? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, now we have, let me show you from the olive tree. This is what the olives would look like. And actually, I just got back from Italy, and they were harvesting their olives now. And we were walking up a path, and I go, shh, shh, there's an animal, there's something going on. And hearing this, there was a man up in a tree, and he was shaking the branches, and the olives would fall down onto a mat, and he would be collecting them, God bless you, and he would scoop them up. The way that they used to press the olive oil was a big cement circle and kind of a tool that would go around and compress the olives. Now, there is similarly done this way in Italy today to make olive oil. Does anybody use olive oil in their cooking? Yeah, great. It's really good and healthy. So today, though, we're going to experiment a little bit. And we're going to take this. Here's some green olives. So pretend that they are, I'm sorry. But you're all going to get a chance, okay? And we're going to, this is a very technical term, what I'm going to tell you now, okay? Try not to forget it. I'm going to smush them. It's very technical. I'm going to, hey. Wow. All right. Now, wait a second, watch. And everybody can have a turn to do this later. I'm not getting much oil.
Okay, that looks like a juice.
I'm not, well, then it's the oil. That's what you're getting out of the olive. So can you imagine if this is how long would it take to make enough olive oil to refill so that we could relight our menorah?
19.
90? Maybe. Yes.
I think it would take an hour.
You think maybe? Now, of course, they did it with a much bigger press than what I'm using.
That's what I think. That's what my guess is now.
That's what your guess is. And how much do you think we're going to get in an hour? 4 ounces, 6 ounces, 8 ounces?
About 8 ounces.
About 8 ounces. Yes.
I think to get enough, for them to actually need it will take 7 days.
You think? You might be right. And of course, we had one that we found, right? One was still there that was sealed and pure. Yes, David?
It's usually 8 days, including transportation to the temple. Oh my gosh, but taking away transportation. David, why would we?
No transportation. It was just right outside the gate.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that's in that picture. That's where they just had to go down the hill, and there were the olive groves.
Oh.
No transportation involved.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days, or 8, depending on if you want to make it holy or not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to this, but now I'm wondering, how much did they produce at one time? Was it a week's worth? Was it 2 weeks worth? I don't have that information, but I'm curious about that. I'm sorry, what is your name? Marco, yes.
I know who you can ask if you what you could say.
Who?
A scientist.
A scientist? I could. All right, we're going to look at this and work with this in a little while. In the meantime, this is an ancient oil lamp, and probably in their homes in Jerusalem, or all over, this is what they would have lit to light up the night. So we're going to light it and see how long it might last. Let's see if we can really get it to light.
Everybody seems to be able to
All right. The inside of the lamp is filled with oil. Let's sit down. And I have some other things here on display, like a little bit of a museum, and you'll be able to come over and have a look at some of the pictures afterwards. But we're going to we have this lit for right now, and I brought an oil lamp from my house, and I have some pictures of ancient ones over here also. And I know you're probably going to do the blessings later, but I thought maybe we would light this menorah and do the first night of Hanukkah. Have you been learning the Hanukkah blessings? Shall we all sing them together? All right, let me light the shamas, because unlike your candle, it's not going to light the shamas for us. Okay. There is the shamas. All right, ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher ishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hatikir shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa mitzim lavotenu vayamim ha'arim v'azman tonight, Eloheinu melech haolam she'achayanu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu v'azman. So also up on this table are some real artifacts from where the Holy Temple was. And when I was on the dig, there's some handles.
Can you explain the artifact?
When you go on an archaeological dig, you're trying to dig through history. You're trying to find things to give you clues. And so the area around the Holy Temple, they found outside of those walls were mainly like a marketplace. Places where people shop, places where people live. And we learn that through what we find, through the artifacts, through the shards. This is a shard. A shard is a piece, a small piece of something. And you spend time trying to put them together, and that's often what you see in a museum. So these are 2 handles that probably date back to the time, a little bit after the Holy Temple. There's one, this one is still intact, so this was a good find, what they say. Here, that's still solid. And I invite you to touch them gently, please, because you all look like much older students, and I think that you could handle that. And also to feel, this would have been the side of a pot if you can imagine. And maybe this was an oil pot, maybe it held oil, and to be able to feel the ridging in it. This also could have been the top of a vessel that would, if you can see it, I can see right through it, that maybe this is what we use to pour the oil. So this is how we learn a lot about the people from a long, long, long time ago, is by going through this process. So there are these things after you have explored a little bit and pictures, but I also want you to know that we do know that there was a menorah in the Holy Temple. It was authentic, because many years later, the Romans came and they took it. And this is a relief in a big archway in Rome called the Arch of Titus. And this showed off that Rome conquered Jerusalem and took the menorah. The menorah has since been lost. There is no recollection in the history of Rome of where or what happened to the menorah. But it was actually taken from Jerusalem, it was carried to Rome, and it was later illustrated in this relief about the conquering of Jerusalem. This is not make-believe, guys. This is for real. And that's what I like about this part of the story of Hanukkah. It's real. We can have imagination about other things, and I know you're going to enjoy presents and doing mitzvot and all sorts of great stuff and eating latkes, but there's some real history going on here and real information. Yes?
Could the menorah actually be like the stone?
You know, nobody mentioned that. The tour guide that I had is an art historian, and she actually also works for the Vatican. She didn't imply that that was a possibility. So I like that thought. That would be awesome, because this has been there for like thousands of, 2,000 years.
What was the thought, excuse me, I
What
can't
did
hear.
what did she say?
What was the thought?
Could the menorah be in the stone? Wrapped in the arch, which I think is a really interesting thought. Wouldn't you want it on display, though, if you stole it and it's gold and it's beautiful and it's big, as opposed to hiding it in here?
Yeah, but you wouldn't really necessarily want somebody to take it if you just leave it on there. Like you would want to put it somewhere that you could taste it. Like for example, put it somewhere that is really hard to get to. I had it, you can't get it.
It's a very interesting train of thought that you have. Yes.
I think I sort of agree with Nina, except maybe they decided to hide it because they retreated and they knew since the Jews had power now that they would try to steal it.
I think that one of the great things about studying history and studying especially Torah is that these are the ideas we want you to have. These are the thoughts, because that's how we all grow and learn and explore new ideas. One more question, and then we're going to move to the activity.
I think probably they put the menorah behind all this hard rock, and they put extra hard rock behind it. So it's extra hard to break through, and they lit it, so...
You think they lit this? Probably not. That part I'm not going to agree so much with. Yes, David?
I think a much more probable theory is that someone stole it and proceeded to melt the gold down and turn it into jewelry.
Probably.
That's a much more probable. That, or it was lost in the Great Fire of Rome.
Either way.
Either way.
All right, what I'm going to invite, look guys, we're still burning here. We are still burning. What I am going to invite you to do now is we're going to do some oil painting with olive oil and charcoal. And I invite you, you're going to take this home, and I invite you to either take something from this table in terms of artistic ideas. You might have your own. You might, if you made a menorah over there, a Hanukkah menorah, you might want to draw your own. You might want to do this is an idea of what the city of Jerusalem often looks like in artwork. Or you might want to take and use an idea of some ancient vessels. You can come up and take a picture that I have here of some older Chanukiot from different eras, or you can just use whatever you would like to bring home with you to symbolize your Hanukkah time with us today. The one last thing before we break up and go to tables, and I'm going to ask the staff to help to pass these out and the charcoal, and we're going to put olive oil in cups so that every child or every 2 children will have that opportunity. The menorah was so important that it became the symbol of the state of Israel. And on either side of the menorah are olive branches. And so even today, I brought some old coins, and you will see the emblem of the state of Israel here. And the big replica menorah stands outside of the Knesset, which is like the Capitol in Washington, D.C. But this is, again, so important to the history and to the idea of Jerusalem and Israel, that to this day it is a symbol that we all use and that we all recognize. And it came from the Torah. I think, for me, that's pretty cool that it comes from that. Yes, Jack, and then your friend next to me.
I went to Washington, D.C. and saw the Washington Monument.
Excellent. I grew up there, so I love it there. Yes? What?
And now they're very old.
They are very beautiful. Okay, I invite you to take a seat at these tables right here, and we'll get you started on your art. And thank you for coming and your beautiful attention.